Keep in mind that psychiatry is a fraud. It's very much part of the global intelligence apparatus, if you will. The countries have certain rules that they play by. Okay, believe it or not. It goes back to the idea of mutually assured destruction, but before that, it is the kind of Greco-Roman kind of underlying cause and culture of all the countries in the world. So let me help you understand mental illness. The reason why I'm the expert on mental illness to a large degree and not scientists has to do with the idea of, we'll go with basketball as an example. Now, some people are too immature to hear me out from this point, right? They'll say he wants to talk basketball, but hear me out. So, if Michael Jordan, right, was doing it his way, he'd score more points and do a better job than if he's doing it someone else's way, right? I'm sure we can all agree on that. And so if somebody said, that they've studied the fundamentals, the stats, they've studied brain patterns, and they think they know how to do a better job than him, than he does, right? Or he did in his prime. Michael Jordan would be right and they would be wrong. And there'd be no easy way to explain it. And so it is with human behavior, okay? How to deal with groups of people who are acting up, inmates, gang members, depressed people, people with broken hearts, what have you. I'm the expert on behavior. I'm the expert on healing the soul, healing the center of someone, their heart, their brain, their mind. And when it comes to certain things, like say somebody's in the streets and they're just crazy and you can't reason with them at all. Okay? If I was not allowed to analyze the person, I'd come to some conclusion and say, okay, maybe it's not out of the realm of possibility that this person needs a sedative of some kind. Okay? We look at the studies for various medicines for schizophrenia. Maybe we consider them. Maybe we don't. And that goes into the realm of kind of brain damage beyond mental illness, right? Because what happens is these people quite often, they take drugs until their brain is damaged to a large degree. And when a lot of these people who talk about mental illness, they talk about chemical imbalances, biological dysfunction that predates the drugs and the substances and whatever head trauma, whatever they've been through that causes the brain damage. So in the vast majority of brain damage cases, in a sense, no one's the expert, right? There's not much you can do for it. But when we're talking about human behavior, and we're talking about people who are depressed, okay, we're talking about most forms of bipolar disorder, that aren't that severe. And I'm the expert. And what's happened here is there's a lot of people who want to draw into question my expert power because quite often they're nerds. Quite often they're arrogant Northern Europeans. And they want to make it seem like they're, the ideal model for a person. Now, in doing so, it behooves the righteous person who's not racist, mind you, to look at their characteristics carefully. Okay, and so it's a lot of whites and Jews and LGBT people who make these arguments. And there's sort of scientists who are kind of nerdy making arguments. And they're coerced by the state. They're coerced by the government. They know that I'm right. They know that, the leopard is sharper than the deer, for example. And for the same reason, I'm sharper and I appreciate life and I sense life more than they do. And I understand human behavior more than they do. In most cases, a nerd would not be a nerd if they were very deep thinkers. They understood human behavior to a large degree, right? They wouldn't be a nerd. They would not be a nerd. So when we look in the dictionary, right, it says the definition for a nerd is boringly studious, foolish and contemptible, what have you. Now, if these people understood human behavior and they could look at the scientific quote-unquote facts and studies, which a lot of them are fabricated and everyone knows it, mind you, and they could look at you and say, this is what you need to do to change your behavior to the average person who's mildly depressed, bipolar disorder, what have you. Okay, if they could do that, why didn't they do that for themselves, right? Duh. Remove the log from your own eye. Your behavior is nerdy. It's foolish. It's contemptible. Fuck you talking about. You're missing the point of life. And because you lack that kind of deep sense from your heart and soul and mind and being, Okay, you've chosen to waste your life being a nerd and reinforcing the system. Now, this video isn't about bashing nerds. It's about clarifying why I'm right and why I'm persecuted for being right about a great many things that are vital to the human experience, to truth, to helping people understand the point of life, what have you. So as we look at this thing and we really ask ourselves, when these Korean researchers, around 8 years ago, it came out on YouTube, I was just watching the video on YouTube, that these people claim that they found the root cause for bipolar disorder. Immediately you know, or a key root cause, immediately you know that they're wrong, okay? They don't know what causes bipolar disorder. They don't know. And they're presenting it in a way that this kind of minor, relatively minor detail is a great discovery. Let me give you another example in case you don't understand them right already, and we'll wrap this up because I can go on and on about this. If you were to scan someone's brain and they were a lazy, scatterbrained fool that needed to work out and focus and take on a serious mentality in life, you would see a brain scan of some scatterbrained, lazy fool. You could call it a disorder. Maybe the person has mood swings, maybe they don't. Maybe they're depressed, maybe they're not. And if you took every lazy, scatterbrained fool as to be distinguished for someone with brain damage, okay, and you put them together in a category and said, these people are bipolar, or they're depressed, or we don't know what it is, but they have symptoms that overlap with these disorders. And then you started to drug them and say, hey, look, we found commonalities. Bullshit. So some people are more inclined to take on certain behaviors when they have certain genetic commonalities. So fucking what? So what? So the fuck what? That doesn't mean very much when you can heal them with a morally precise regiment. So as we look at this abomination called the mental health system and how it has tentacles all over the world and how they coerce people all over the world, we must know beyond a reasonable doubt that they are screening out the one person that could fix you for pharmakeia magic card fools. And I'm not necessarily talking about those researchers. It's a general model in general for the people who reinforce that system. That's how they get you. That is one of many ways. You see, Jordan is the expert on playing basketball like a pro, not some guy who gathers stats and thinks he knows something with his theories. And I am the expert on human behavior and training someone to have a worthwhile life, not mental health experts. And where it's a matter of drugging them and so on and so forth, perhaps we could work on that together. But they did not do that. So I'm not impressed by their so-called discoveries. I'm not impressed by any mental health professional because they're just puppets for the state who do a great injustice to the human race. And people are massacred with pharmaceuticals, especially psych meds. Thank you.